Hello, brothers and sisters. I have more juice left in me, so figured I'd give a couple more pieces of advice. I was watching the news today, and what I look for is particular what's happening in Russia, what's happening in North Korea, what's happening to the EU, in particular the elections and whether it's breaking down or not, what's happening in the U.S., the Trump and the non-Trump people, then what's happening in the Middle East. The Middle East is what is truly fascinating. Uh, I also look for Israel and Jerusalem, which is interesting because you assume if you search for Israel or Jerusalem, you get the same news, and the answer is you don't. But what I saw today is Tayyip Erdogan from Turkey declared that all Muslims should start storming into Jerusalem like a flood, which I kind of projected. And Hezbollah in the south is starting to make a war of words, and Iran's starting to push forward with force, and we're seeing a lot of missile testing, whether it be China, Japan. It's just happening all over. So when I give you the warnings that you should probably be looking to the Middle East more so than you are to the U.S., this kind of goes down to advice for people who follow the Matthew 24 people, and it's the Matthew 24 alone, or the Illuminati people. If you place Rome as the kind of cornerstone of where the beast harlot system is, and I'm not saying the Vatican won't be the woman riding the beast, but it's not the greater beast. There were two beasts in Revelation, one in 13:1 and one in 13:11. And the first beast had 10 heads, and one had gone and basically became a larger beast. And then the second it appeared as a lamb, had two horns, and it gave all power and authority to the first beast, preceded it. If you recognize where those beasts are coming from, the 10-horn first beast goes back to Daniel, and everybody goes, and especially the people who believe in Rome and Illuminati, will go to Daniel 9, they'll go to 7, they'll go to 4. I'll sit back and tell you, go to Daniel 11. It's the book that's sealed until the end of times. And if you look at Daniel 11, you'll find out it's a history of Islam. And once you realize it's a history of Islam, that 10-horned beast will be the restored Islamic Caliphate, or whatever it ends up being in its final form. The two-headed beast will probably be what you Illuminati people are looking for, and that's the UN. And it was originally created by the US and England, two horns, that it looked good. Right now it's speaking like Islam. It's denied the Temple Mount, it's denied the history of Christianity and everything else. So, to those of you who think that Jew is the Antichrist spirit, unfortunately, it's Antichrist, but it's not Antichrist, because from the Jews comes salvation. So if we didn't have the Jews, we wouldn't have the Christians. And while the Kabbalistic perspectives of some of them might be Antichrist, general Jehovah-fearing Jews probably aren't your problem. They will be covered, and the thing is we get this in Ezekiel 37 to the end, we get it in Jeremiah 29 to 31. There'll be a new covenant with the Jews. It is what it is. It's not with us. But I just pray with you guys that you don't become blindsided and think, oh, well, the news is going this direction and everybody's going to get microchipped and this, that, and the other. That'll happen. It's just not going to happen to the time frame that most people are expecting. What I expect is a strong Middle Eastern base, especially a restored Islamic Caliphate, and the UN to basically speak like the Caliphate. And there's nothing we can do. I think you'll see the U.S. as a superpower go down, and will probably be replaced with Russia. And it's only a matter of an EMP bomb. And I've read articles that North Korea is testing it, Iran's testing it. If that happens, we're in powerless land, right? We're all electronic money, and once you take out our electricity, what good are we? I mean, we do have pretty good armed forces, but if we have no technology to make sure that they're safe in a foreign country, it doesn't really go anywhere. So, with that, know your beast systems, and if you find you're wrong, just admit you're wrong and keep pointing up, because our time's coming close. And I'll continue to go back to I read some of the other stuff out there with regards to the Book of Enoch, and It's an interesting book because it's not scriptural, but the story of Enoch would lend to the pseudegraphia, which was Enoch, and the restored oral tradition passed down. Handful of things to people who read into Enoch and that type of stuff. I'm not saying it wasn't led by Enoch, and I'm not saying it didn't have history. It's certainly not led by the Spirit, because a lot of the passages in there talk about these watchers who are fallen angels, and once you start talking about fallen angels and getting guidance from there, it's a little bit scary. So it's probably mostly in Jewish mysticism, although I'm sure there's some glimpse of truth in there. But I just warn you, read it, understand it, focus on Revelation. I mean, they're similar enough where you shouldn't really need to rely on Enoch to interpret the promises. But in any case, I just hope this blesses you guys. Just keep your eyes open. I'm thinking the precepts of a world war as well as a restored Islamic Caliphate are upcoming, and just keep your eyes open. And if you see those things happening, go look at some of my first videos. I try to tell you ahead of time. God bless.